Welcome back to the Video Darkroom. This week we're going to be talking about how to price video production. Last week I announced that the Video Darkroom would be producing a new series covering my experience of starting up a video production company from scratch. The things that I have learned might be useful to you if you're starting out in your video production business or if you're thinking of starting a video production business. And this week we're going to be talking about how to price your work for your customers. If you type video production into the YouTube search box, you'll find that one of the first terms suggested is how to price video productions or video production pricing. So it's clearly something that people are looking for some information on, some guidance on how to do that. It's also something that is critical to entering into your business plan so that you can create a plan for your business that can assure you that you're going to cover your costs and be profitable as you start that company. So I have created a simple system using a spreadsheet that you can type in your own values to that will cover your own market, your own type of video production, and it will give you some guidance as to how you should set your prices and what scope you have for giving discounts and allowances to customers. Now, before we start, I know that everyone's market is different, so I've used examples that are based on London pricing, but if you're somewhere else in the United Kingdom or somewhere else in the world, in another country, then the pricing in your market may be a little bit different from that because the costs will be different and what you expect to earn may be different as well. So we'll be able to cover that. It's also true that your videos may be different from mine. They may be longer or shorter or more or less complex, and we should be able to cover some scope in terms of different types of video in this methodology. And I also want to cover the whole question of the methodology used for pricing. I'm going to be doing a pricing that's based on covering your costs and making a profit. But other people recommend value pricing, and value pricing is where you set a price according to what value your customer may see in that particular production when they receive it. Now, I'm not against value pricing, but I think that you need to understand your pricing built up from the cost of your time and your materials, your work, and adding a profit to that so that you know base prices that you start off from before you begin to consider value pricing. Value pricing, then, it would be unwise to go too much lower than the price that's recommended by time and materials cost up type pricing. Your experience will matter also in terms of this model and how you do your pricing. So experience is relevant in two different senses. Firstly, it's relevant in terms of what the customer will eventually receive. An experienced videographer and editor will be able to produce a better result and therefore command a higher price. Not only that, but experience will enable you to work faster. So you may use fewer hours to produce your video once you've gained experience than you did when you were starting out. And we'll be covering how many hours it might take to produce your video, and that will be a key input to the cost that you'll have to charge your customer. Having said all of that, it is essential that you have a way of covering your costs, otherwise you're making a loss. It may be that you do accept the fact that you're making a loss at the very beginning because you're making some investment in starting up the company, and that's absolutely fine. But you need to know and be in control of it and know when you're going to be able to hit break even and when you're going to be making a profit. Knowing what your base pricing would be and establishing a price list is essential for doing that. So having said all of that, let's get into the methodology itself, have a look at the spreadsheet, and we'll start to build up a price for a standard video that you may be producing. This is the spreadsheet. And we start off by looking at some of the parameters that need to be set in around business targets. So the first one that we want to look at is how many videos are you going to produce in the year? Now, to simplify the whole process, we're just going to standardize on what you think your most common video might be. I realize you may produce shorter ones and longer ones, but just to make the whole process work as simply as possible, we should standardize on a typical video and how many of those that you might produce. Now, I'm suggesting that maybe you might produce 24 videos of an average length in a year. 24 and not 25 or 26, because there are some weeks that are not used for working. They are holidays or sickness, whatever it happens to be. So you really get about 48 weeks in the year to work. And that means if you produce one video every 2 weeks, then that would be 24 videos that you produce in the year. Then the question arises, how much time is it going to take to produce each video? And so I'm suggesting here for a typical video, yours might vary, but for a typical video, we might say there are 2 days required for the filming of that video, and then 4 days required for the editing. It may be that there are 6 days required for the editing. That's your decision as to what you want to put in here. But editing usually takes 2 to 3 times as much as the filming. So let's start with these numbers anyway and see how they work out. So if we take 2 days of filming, that will lead then to 48 days of filming in the year if you're producing 24 videos, and then 96 days of editing will result from the 4 days per video and 24 videos. That gives you a total of 144 production days, each video taking up about 6 days of your time. Now, just for sanity here, there are 240 working days in the year. That leaves you basically 96 days to do all of your sales, marketing, business development, and administration. And that means that 40% of your time is going to be taken up in sales, marketing, admin, all of those other tasks, doing your accounting, all of that sort of thing. So that's not unreasonable, particularly in the early days of starting your company, because you're going to have to put a lot of effort into sales and marketing in order to build up your business. So 40% of your time is pretty reasonable. Then we also just want to understand from the point of view of calculating the cost of your equipment, how many years you're going to use for capital depreciation. That means that if you buy something at a certain price, in 4 years' time, its price will have gone to, or its value will have gone to zero. That may not be precisely true. You might want to change that and make that number a little bit longer, but equipment doesn't tend to have a particularly long life in the video business, and so I've put in 4 years for capital depreciation. So now let's look at equipment costs. I'm assuming that you're going to need 2 cameras to run your business, both because often filming requires 2 cameras, and also because it would be risky, I think, to run a business and not have a backup camera body. And then for those cameras, you're probably going to require about 6 lenses. So for the camera bodies, I've assumed that you can get the 2 camera bodies for around £5,000 each. You can buy cheaper cameras, or you can buy more expensive ones. But I think if you're going to be a professional video business, you need to invest in good equipment. So there would be a cost of £10,000 for that. And if you depreciate those over the 4 years, that means your annual cost of those camera bodies is going to be £2,500. And if you're going to make 24 videos, then each video represents a cost just for the camera body of £104. So you need to cover that cost. And let's just run through the other things that you'll need. The lenses, 6 at about £1,500 for high quality lenses. You might get them less. Just change that figure to whatever you think that your equipment is going to cost. And that works out as you run it right through here to £94 per video is going to be the cost of lenses. Then you have all of these other parts of your equipment portfolio here. There are video lights, stands and soft boxes that you may need. I'm suggesting for each video light, softbox and stand, we're talking about £400. So that would be adding up to £800, and a smaller amount, but not insignificant, still needs to be covered, £8 per video. You'll need audio equipment to capture the audio from your film production or for your film production. So I'm suggesting at least a radio mic setup that covers 2 lavaliers, 2 independent channels, maybe about £400. And you might need 2 such setups. So again, that adds up to a cost of about £800 in total. You will need bags and cases, maybe flight cases if you're traveling, but certainly you need safe and secure bags to transport your equipment on and off your production sites. So you got to allow for those. There will be other things like tripods, gimbals, SD cards, filters, all of those other things that add up. I'm suggesting maybe a budget of about £500 for all of those. They add up quite quickly. And then also you've got your production and your editing to do. So you'll need a decent laptop and storage, such as a NAS or other disks that you use, because video, as I'm sure you're well aware, takes up a great deal of disk space. So I'm suggesting maybe a budget of about £2,000 for your laptop and storage. So all of that adds up to a total of £249. That means that in every video you produce, there is a cost of something like £249 just to cover your equipment and keep your business running. Moving down now in the spreadsheet onto business overheads. So there are a number of things that you need to cover that are part of running a business. There is insurance, your professional indemnity, public liability, and insurance for your equipment itself. And I have an annual cost of about £1,000 to cover all of that. Slightly higher because I do aerial work with the drone, and that needs to be covered also. So that runs through into a £42 cost on every video that you produce. There are accounting costs for your business. If you can do that yourself, all well and good. But if you have to employ an accountant, there is a cost involved there. There's usually costs involved in banking, and I've put in £120 for banking costs. Then your business will need to have a website and a domain and email and all of that kind of thing, and I've put in a cost of £200 for that. Then there's office software, such as Word and Excel or Google Docs software, whatever it is that you happen to use. So there's a cost involved in that. There will, of course, be video editing and production software. It'll be lower if you use DaVinci Resolve, because that is available for no charge, depending on what version you want to use. I use Adobe software, so I've put in a charge of £500 per year to cover my access to Premiere, After Effects, Audition, Photoshop, Lightroom, and so on. And then finally, there may well be the subscription that you need to a music and stock video site to add various background music and things like that you may need to license, and I've put a charge of about £300 as an annual subscription into that. So all of your business overheads add up to about £148 per video based on the numbers that we've entered above. And then there may be travel and other expenses involved in creating each video. It's very unlikely that you can get away with nothing here. There will at least be your fuel charges for driving, or perhaps train or flight charges to get onto the site where you're going to do your filming. So that takes you through all of the costs involved in this, except for one key cost, and that is the cost of your own time. Now, for this one, I've just simply plugged in the average gross salary for London into this spreadsheet. So that's £44,370. That's the government figures as of last April. That would be April 2023. And that's just the average salary. So for the sake of argument and not to be contentious, I'm just going to assume that you want to earn an average salary. You may be content with much less than that when you're just starting out your new business, and then hope to rise above that as your business progresses and you gain experience. So taking the 44,370 over 150 days, that means that the cost to pay your own salary is £296 per day. Now, I'm not taking any taxes or anything else into account. That's just purely your gross salary that you want to apply to each video that you produce. So the per video cost, based on 24 videos per year and 6 days per video, works out at £1,175. Add that to all the costs of equipment and business overheads that we've dealt with earlier, and your video break-even cost is £2,272. Now, most videographers starting out find that quite a high number, and it's very doubtful that on day one, when you're just starting your business, that you'll be able to charge that much. But the objective is to get to that price. So maybe in the early days, you want to offer videos cheaper than that, particularly because you want to get reference videos that you can use to help your selling effort in the future, in which case you might want to give an allowance against that particular cost, or give a discount against it, maybe as high as 50%. In the very early days, just in order to get some work under your belt and get a body of work that you can use for your sales and marketing. But my strong recommendation is that you establish a price list of all the things that you deliver, and that you recognize that you're giving discounts off that. I think it's even quite convincing for the customer to see that because you're starting a new business, or because you want their work as a reference for your future sales and marketing effort, that you're giving them an allowance against that. But do make sure that they will allow you to use that video as an example to other customers when you're doing your sales and marketing later on, and that it's not a confidential video that can't be shown in a marketing context. If it is, if those kind of restrictions are being imposed on you, that you can't use the content that you create for your own marketing, then you should give a lower allowance or a lower discount, and resulting in a higher cost. So I hope that you find that interesting. The key to this, of course, is that you plug in all your own numbers. These are numbers just based on where I'm at the moment. It's based on a London pricing structure, which is probably pretty high overall. And it's based on pretty substantial equipment and even business overheads. But these are the numbers that work for me, and I hope you found that interesting. And if you did, please give the video a like. And if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get all the other videos that we produce in this series, where we go into the business planning for the new business, and where we deal with other things like what equipment you need to buy, and many other techniques that we need to cover in running a video production business. The Video Darkroom will also continue to cover all the other kinds of videos that we produce around Premiere and Lightroom and Adobe After Effects, all of the tricks and tips and techniques that we cover as normal. So hope to see you in the next one.